Howdy Neighbors, David here. And today on Boondock Stallions, we are talking about Doctor Who. I know, we're continuing with our 31 Days of Horror, and surprisingly enough, this does fall into the category as it is part of the Chris Chibnall era. Excuse me. Now, before anybody goes and gets mad about what I just said, I'm not upset with the recent era of Doctor Who. I'm not a fan of Chibnall. I think that Jodie Whittaker deserved a better writer and better stories, and she did a fantastic job as well as her companions. It just lacked a good screenwriter. So, before we get started, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe so I can keep pumping out more of these bad boys for you guys. Now, excuse me, I have currently watched the Power of the Doctor episode twice. And believe me, it was a chore the first time because there were commercial interruptions. Now, heads up, there are going to be spoilers. I'm going to put out a lot of spoilers. Spoiler number 1. Let's get this out of the way right now. There was no conclusion to the Timeless Child. Nothing, not even a word or a whisper. As far as Chibnall was concerned, he wrapped that up at the end of the at the end of Flux, when he put the fob watch down in the middle of the TARDIS. Now, this is even more lazy writing. I mean, Chibnall's problem is that he's writing the show for 1970s and 80s viewers. As far as he's concerned, he's just doing what they did in the 80s here in the 2020s, and that's not good because, excuse me, here in the 2020s, we expect more from our screenwriters. He just throws in exposition for no reason. Like, let us learn. We're smart. We can figure it out. You don't need everybody there to explain every tiny little thing. And then you also don't need to set up a gajillion things that you never, ever pay off. This is something that he does throughout his entire run of the show. Having said that, the Timeless Child didn't make it into the Legends of Sea Devils, and it didn't make it here into the Power of the Doctor. And what was the point? Yes, it did sort of canonize the Mobius Doctors, or the Morbius Doctors. Morbius. It did, canonize those doctors, but it also didn't give you any full answers. Like, how many times has this happened? How many versions of the Doctor were out there riding around in a TARDIS? Is it something that they just managed to do over and over again? Kind of like in 50 First Dates, whenever Drew Barrymore's character would forget everything every single day, and yet after her time with Adam Sandler, every single day she would paint something that reminded her of him, and she didn't know why because it was bleeding through her subconscious. Is that like kind of what was going on there? I'm not exactly 100% sure, but the Timeless Child was just, set up and then gone. Like, here's this thing, this amazing thing. And it's not that the Timeless Child was a bad idea. It was a beautiful, brilliant story. I mean, this child found on the edge of the universe, not knowing where it came from, the fact that it had regenerative abilities and tecteon in true villainous form. And I say villainous because what she did was awful, and it was in the name of science and furthering her people and technology, but it was awful. She murdered that child over and over and over again, not knowing if it was going to regenerate or not, just hoping that it did, and trying to figure out how to copy that technology. And once she had figured out how to regenerate, she gave that power to herself and select others that went to the Time Academy, and they founded Time Lord history on Gallifrey and created their entire civilization around it. Like, this was a great idea. It didn't have to be the Doctor. It didn't have to be the Doctor. It could have been the Master. If it was the Master, it would have even made it more sense. But it could have been any other random Gallifreyan. But they decided to make it the Doctor for some ungodly reason, and then throw us the Ruth Doctor. And the Ruth Doctor, I don't care that they never canonized it, but she is there in between Pertwee and not Pertwee. Damn it. Why have I forgotten the second Doctor's name? It was between 2 and 3. He was the regeneration. I think they call it the season 6B theory. Look that up when you get done with this video. But that's basically where I'm sure the Ruth Doctor fits in. But they didn't pay it off. There was no explanation, no answer, no anything. Chibnall just said, "All right, I'm throwing the fob watch into the middle of the TARDIS, fucking off, and letting some future writer deal with that shit or ignore it completely at their own leisure." And I know I've rambled on for like 5 minutes about the Timeless Child, but I was just really upset that Chibnall ruined that. So the entire opening sequence, beautiful. I'm not going to lie to you. The Chibnall era has so far been cinematically the most beautiful run of the entire show. The special effects are great. The scenery's great. The background's great. Everything looks amazing. I would never deny him that. And it lives up to scratch at the very beginning of the episode when they go on the train heist. Having said that, the entire train heist, that whole thing was completely unnecessary. Like, absolutely unnecessary. Like, what was the point of it? I mean, we could have found the child that wasn't really a child later on, along with the Cyber Masters at some point, without that little train heist. The whole reason for it to be there was to get Dan shot in the face through his helmet and almost flung into outer space, barely being held on by somebody's hand, and to give him the idea that this is real, this is dangerous, I need to get out of here and live my life because that was a close call. I may not be so lucky next time. And I mean, this is a very valid reason for leaving the show. As a matter of fact, that's exactly why Tegan left in the first place. And I'll get to Tegan here in just a second. But Dan just fucked off at the beginning of the episode. Like, he was there for like less than 10 minutes on the show. And he's like, all right, I'm out of here. And then he showed up to bookend the thing at the very, very butt end of the episode for like the last 2 minutes of screen time. Like, why? I'm to understand. I've never really seen anything with the actor John Bishop in, but I'm to understand that he is an amazing actor and he's funny, and like, this was probably a waste of his character. And for whatever reason, I hope they do him better in the future. He gets to come back or gets a cameo or a special or something like that. So Tegan and Ace are back. I love that Tegan and Ace are back. However, I'm a little upset with Tegan for, and I say upset, I just have an issue. But she was upset with the Doctor for just like dropping her off and not coming back for like 40 years and just never seeing her again. Well, bro, what did you expect? You left the TARDIS. That was you. The Doctor didn't kick you out, or you didn't die or get seriously injured. You were just run through the ringer and tired of having to deal with all the shit that went down living with the Doctor and that lifestyle on the TARDIS. So you decided to bow out, which is fair. But once you've bowed out, like, when in your time on the show did you and the Doctor ever go and visit any of his past companions? Just when did that happen? That's right. It didn't. So if you never did it with the Doctor, why would you expect the Doctor to do it with you? Anyways, Ace was back calling the Doctor Professor again, which is beautiful. Ace was always, always, always one of my favorite companions, and I'm really glad that they were able to bring back Doctors 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Like, that is a lot of docs. And I was really happy that they all got their own little cameo in, and then managed to give Sylvester McCoy and Ace a proper goodbye, seeing as how they were just kind of off doing their own thing, and the show was canceled in 1989, and that's a whole other video. But I was really happy with those two, even though they didn't really have too much to do in the story. I was extremely happy in there. And like, how did Ace not hook up with Graham? Graham was all kinds of about to hit that when he ran into her in the volcano. Also, what was Graham doing in the volcano? I'm not complaining about seeing Graham again. I love him. He's hysterical. But like, what was he doing in the volcano? I mean, he didn't have any weapons. He didn't have any backup. He didn't have any help. He was armed with nothing more than the psychic paper and a plucky attitude. So what was he going to do exactly? But like I said, I feel like he fancied Ace, and those two should have done a little brown chicken, brown cow. Kate Lethbridge Stewart, awesome. Always a plus having her on the show. I really loved Unit's new headquarters, and I'm sorry that it had to be taken down almost immediately at the end of the episode. Sacha Dhawan's Master, always good. I think he's an amazing variation of the Master. However, I don't feel like the whole Rasputin thing was necessary. Like, which master was the prime master? Because, like, technically, the master was what, dead while his consciousness was inside of the doctor, and then I guess when the doctor took back her body, she put the master back in his body. But was Rasputin before or after seismologist master, or was seismologist master before or after? You know, which one was first, which one was last? How did that work itself out exactly? Because I feel like one of them should have known that they were going to fail, like the whole thing. Also, haha, what was it? The Master's not dead. I don't care what anybody says. They left him under a rock outside of his TARDIS before the planet blew up. He didn't have to get in there and turn the TARDIS on and disappear. He could have gotten in, shut the doors, and just let the explosion happen around him. It would have been fine. So I feel like the Master will be back, and I really hope that Sasha Dewan gets to play with another version of the Doctor, or if we get to find out exactly where he falls in line as the Master. Is he pre or post Missy? And the only reason I ask that question is because, like, Missy had an amazing redemption arc there during the Capaldi era. She chose to be the best of herself. She chose to leave that dark life behind and be a better person. And then she was killed by herself. And so to have Sasha Dewan's master show up there in Spyfall and just be the same old mustache twirling, shrinking people, larger than life, evil doing master that he always was a bit of a letdown, because we'd had this great redemption arc. Like, so would the master regenerate and be like, you know what, fuck it, I'm bad again. I'm bad again. Like it or not, here's how we're doing this. Let's see. I don't think there was. I was a little disappointed that Eccleston didn't make a quick appearance. I mean, bro, they brought back the first Doctor. Obviously, it's not William Hartnell playing the Doctor. It's the actor that plays Filch in the Harry Potter movies, David Bradley. And then they brought back Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy. And I think there was even companion-wise, there were like Mel and Ian Chesterton. Literally, the Doctor's first companion was there. And what's interesting was I've never really known, was the Doctor's granddaughter a Time Lord or a Gallifreyan? Now, I know every Time Lord is a Gallifreyan, but not every Gallifreyan is a Time Lord. So if she was just a Gallifreyan, it would explain why she couldn't be there or have been regenerated and had a new face and stayed there, because I feel like she should be somewhere out and about in the universe, possibly with a new face, unless, she went back to Gallifrey for the war and died somewhere there. I'm not 100% sure. I'm probably going to have to dig deep into that. I've got BritBox, so it's going to happen. The regeneration scene. Jodie Whittaker deserved better than that for her regeneration scene. I don't know if you paid attention to the last few regenerations, but they've kind of made it a thing where they get a bit of a goodbye at the end. Eccleston had his, you were great and so was I, and then he regenerated into Tennant. Tennant had his drug out 15-minute farewell where he went and saw all of his companions and did the whole I don't want to go thing that broke all of our hearts. Matt Smith did his cool little the Doctor's coming, remember who you are and where you're going. And Capaldi ranted for like 20 minutes, I don't know, by himself. He was talking to himself on the TARDIS for the regeneration, but it was like big, beautiful speech. And he said it twice. I don't know if you guys knew that, but he said that his regeneration speech was also said a season or so before to Clara, when I forget what episode it was, but he said that exact speech verbatim to Clara. Only when he said it for his regeneration, he slowed it down and gave it more heart and more meaning and more depth. And it was a beautiful callback. But Jodie just looked at the camera and said to whoever the next Doctor is, tag, you're it. Now, first of all, that was an awesome line. I liked the tag, you're it line, but she could have also given out a long speech, but she didn't. Like, I feel like Chibnall knows that he fucked up his era of Doctor Who, and he was just sitting there trying to finish the script. He was like, I gotta get this done. I want to be done with it. I'm taking my check and I'm leaving, and I'm never coming back to Doctor Who again because he doesn't know what the fuck he is doing with the show. And I'm sorry, if you like the Chibnall era, that's fine. You can like the Chibnall era, but he is not a good writer. He is a terrible writer. He had so many beautiful, beautiful ideas that the scripts just fell to shit. Let me give you an example. The Saranga conundrum. It was the episode, maybe the third episode during third or fourth episode during his first season, where they're stuck in that hospital spaceship without the TARDIS, and there's a little pating thing. Also, the pating, that is a terrible fucking name for the creature. Pating. Pating. Pating is the sound that should have been made when the piece of paper that pating was written on was crumbled up and thrown into the trash can. Pating. Like, that's the noise. But whatever, that's beside the point. The episode was very reminiscent of the Twilight Zone episode with William Shatner and, there's something on the wing and the gremlin. But what Doctor Who missed out on in that episode was it had the potential to be funny, because what they should have done instead was make it more like the Bugs Bunny cartoon where he parodied the gremlin on the plane thing. And Bugs Bunny is, the Bugs Bunny and the Doctor are literally the same character. They are two highly intelligent characters that distract you with words and what their hands are doing while they're figuring out how to outsmart you and maneuver everything to go their way. So the idea that they would have gone very comedic and followed that formula with the Bugs Bunny and the Gremlin thing was hysterical. I mean, no matter how hard Bugs Bunny tried, it could not beat that little gremlin. And this would have been a great, the great way to mirror that with the Doctor and the Pating, having her try everything she could do to destroy this creature, stop this creature, hold the creature, get rid of the creature, and just fail at every turn, and even have that funny kind of ending. I mean, they don't have to do it exactly, but I mean, the way the Bugs Bunny episode ended, the gremlin succeeded in taking the plane down. He was crashing it into the ground, but it stopped. It stopped like this close to the ground before it crashed and exploded. And Bugs Bunny and the gremlin were like, what happened? Why no boom? And then they look at the red light flashing on the control panel, and they ran out of gas. Hilarious. That would have been a perfect way to go with this episode of the Saranga Conundrum episode of Doctor Who. Like I said, Chibnall just doesn't know how to hold stories together. He just likes to drop in plot devices and fuck off the plot devices. It's like when they handed Luke Skywalker the lightsaber. It's like, here's your lightsaber. Awesome, amazing plot device. This means so much. Throw it over your shoulder. Doesn't mean anything. It's fine. It was only necessary for that one scene to get the character from A to B, and it doesn't have anything else to do with the rest of the story. So it's very lazy. He should have really learned how to tighten that up. I mean, he spent most of his youth criticizing those exact same tropes in Doctor Who, only to go and copy, cut, and paste those bastards onto his era. What were you thinking? We wouldn't notice? I noticed. So let's see. Was there anything else bad? No, I really like seeing the time. The Daleks and the Cyber Masters. Also, I feel like aside from the fact that the Cyber Masters were all wiped out with the Master on Gallifrey during that season finale for season 13 or 12, was it like an emergency temporal shift? How did you guys get out of there? We saw the entire thing get nuked real quick, but even if that's the case, how are the Cyber Masters not stoppable? From what we learned, the Doctor or any Time Lord can be killed before their regeneration. Like, if somebody shoots them dead in the middle of their regeneration, the way River Song did during the Impossible Astronaut episode, they miss out and don't get to go to the next body. So why can't they do that with the Cybermen before they regenerate? Once the light starts, destroy their bodies, and then they can't regenerate. It seems like something that way should work for them. But I'm not the writer there, so y'all can try to explain it. I don't know. Let's see. It's over. It's finally over. The Chibnall era is done with. Now we have good Doctor Who to look forward to. There was a 1 minute little trailer at the end of the episode after the credits, giving us a quick little glimpse of what we're going to get next year in November for the 60th anniversary. And it's been confirmed that David Tennant is the 14th Doctor. He is getting 3 specials as the Doctor, and then he will regenerate into Ncuti Mgawo, whom I know I mispronounced that. I'm sorry, but if it helps at all, my last name is Areola, and it gets mispronounced all the time. So, yay, we're getting 3 episodes with David Tennant. What? And they look great. They look really good. The title of the next episode is The Celestial Games, which means that's basically almost confirmation that Neil Patrick Harris is playing an updated version of the Celestial Toymaker from an old episode of Doctor Who. So I'm very happy that we're going to get to see that. The regeneration. So after Jodie was gone, we got David Tennant back. David Tennant is back. Surprise! And I was so happy. I paused the episode before the regeneration and text my bestie. I was like, bro, bet you $100 the minute this episode, right before this episode ends, it ends with the Doctor saying what. And sure enough, it didn't disappoint. We got the what. And a little bit new stuff. The Doctor was able to regenerate not just his face and body, but also his clothes, as Jodie Whittaker's outfit changed into something else for David Tennant. That was interesting, but we're getting a lot of new things. And the regeneration, it was a forced regeneration. That's how they're going to explain what's going on. Also, I've got a prediction. When the Doctor or the Master forced the Doctor's regeneration so that he could take over the Doctor's body and be the next Doctor, he went out dressed as the Doctor in all the Doctor's outfits and went and caused a lot of trouble, went to a security camera, said, I'm the Doctor, I did this. And I feel like that was them setting up the next era of Doctor Who, where he has to deal with being a fugitive for the crimes that the Master committed in his name. And hopefully they'll be able to solve that real quick. I mean, it seems like that wasn't me. That was the Master hijacking my body. Here's the picture. Here's the proof. I'm the Doctor. I didn't do it. But I know they'll drag it out. Yeah, so all in all, I was really happy with this episode, except for this. I probably should have brought this up at the beginning of this video. The power of the Doctor. What does that even mean? The title of the episode has nothing to do with the episode. Like nothing at all. It doesn't get explained. The Doctor doesn't have any weird magical power. I mean, there is that static electricity thing, but if the static electricity thing is the power of the Doctor, fuck off, Chibnall. I mean, fuck all the way off. That was just like, what it's got me stumbling and rambling incoherently. Like, what was the power of the Doctor? What did the power did the Doctor have? So let me know what you guys thought about the episode down in the comments. Be excellent to each other and party on, dudes.